Some people, it takes them a really long time in order to make any kind of gain, or they live in fear and they don't allow themselves to go there because of the unknown. The fact that you created that space, it started to give you opportunity for other things outside of what you've been doing. If you didn't block those times out, if you didn't create those boundaries around your schedule, then you may not have had the opportunities present itself in order to take the next step. Welcome back to the Successful Stylist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Ambrosia Carey, and I am so excited to chat with you guys today because we get to have another guest, but I also want to spread a little bit of love with this awesome shout out from Mom, I Am Rich. You guys are really awesome with these Apple Podcast reviews, and I'm so grateful for it because it does help the right people find us. Your review said, love the episode with Hannah Ellers on it. I know I may be a little biased, but thank you for sharing your story. It's so inspiring, and it's inspiring me to finally start my own business. Thank you guys for sharing how you balance mom life and being successful entrepreneurs. It's so beautiful. Keep up the amazing work. I can't wait to see how both of you guys thrive in the new year. Thank you so much. That's really sweet of you. And I feel the love, and I hope you guys feel it too through listening to this. In this episode, we're going to be hanging out with my girlfriend, Niki Nguyen, who we met years ago. This is kind of a funny story. So she and I met years ago when I came across a blog post of hers, and I reached out to her, just letting her know that story just touched my heart. I was literally sitting in my office, you guys, by myself, and I was tearing up as I was reading her blog post. And I was like, I don't know who this human is, but I feel like I just need to reach out to her and just let her know that I just felt her story, and I just had to let her know that. Anyway, fast forward years later, I saw her at a hair show and I recognized her, and I said hi to her, and it was in passing. I think I was with a brand, she was with a brand, and we were just kind of two ships passing, but we did say hi to each other. And then we just remained friends on the online space. You know how that goes on Instagram. And then now here we are, she is a part of our Successful Stylist journey. I've gotten to know her over even the past couple of months really well. And I'm really excited for you guys to get to know her because I feel like we're going to see a lot more of her. So welcome, Niki. How is it going? How's your day?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's just so crazy how you read my diary on the internet. It was like Xanga for me, just risking it all every blog post. But I'm having such a good day. It's raining in San Jose right now, so it's a little gloomy, but talking to you is just so much better, and having girl time, and this is great. I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Well, I know all about the gloom. I live in Portland, Oregon, so we live the gloom all the time until it's the 4th of July is literally the opening, and then the sun comes in. So I feel your pain on that. It's I live in it every day.
It's just, I don't know how you do it. I'm just when is the sun coming out?
I go on a lot of vacations is what I do. I have to get out of town. Maybe that's why I keep myself so busy. It's to keep myself busy when the weather is gloomy. It's get to work.
Yeah, no, I love that you're bred in that mentality, because when it's gloomy here, everyone's let's now go and not do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love for you to share a little bit about your background, how you entered this industry.
So I'm turning 30 this year, and I entered the industry. I know, I'm so excited to say peace out to my 20s, by the way. My mom actually is the one who introduced me to the industry when I was fairly young. My mom has been a stylist and also an educator for many years. And, your Asian moms typically tell you to be doctors or engineers or lawyers. My mom was, you're going to be a hairstylist. You're going to be, if not a famous hairstylist. I'm just Mom, you're crazy. But she drilled this every single day when I was a kid. And I had no other option but to be a hairstylist. And I would beg her and be can I go to college? I want to be a nurse. And she's why are you going to be a nurse when I told you you're already going to be a hairstylist? You don't even need to. And so it was just a fight for me to want to go to college and convince her college is a good idea. And my mom is no, you're going to be a hairstylist. I already told you. Like, why are you trying to disappoint me? It's like my whole upbringing. And so I graduated high school a week after I went to beauty school because I was like, okay, I really don't know what I'm going to do. Let me just do this. If it doesn't work out, I'll go to college. Finally, my dream. And then my mom, um, she was like always there for me during that time frame. And I ended up really liking to do hair. But during that time in like 2011, 2012, hair was not cool. Like hair was not as cool as it is now. Like if you told anybody you're going to beauty school, they'd be like, surely you're going to go to college, right? Like that you're not
Right.
like after. And I was in this place of like, I felt like I was having a double life where I had to pretend like I was. And I also felt like I wasn't good enough. And it arose like a lot of like insecurities inside of me. And then I tried the college route. I tried to be like a nurse and I did CNA and I was like, absolutely not. I cannot like wipe it's all day, which that's the reality of what it's like to be a CNA. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to be a hairstylist. I don't care what people say. And that was when I was like around 21. And I finally made the choice like, I'm going to do this. I don't care what anyone says. And that was like the moment my career like took off. And yeah, I worked in my garage for a very long time. My it was already made as a salon because my mom does hair. So from like 21 up until literally like 24, I worked in my garage in my home studio and I would have literally like 10 Asian girls up in my garage, just sitting, getting color corrections and globals. And my grandma would be coming out, handing them egg rolls and like, are you hungry? You've been
That's
sitting
so
here all day.
wow. Talk about culture. Like you completely were able to create your own culture out of it. And how awesome is it that your mom is a person who started that process for you? Because usually it's the other way around. I feel like a lot of moms in general are skeptical or they're worried about us entering this industry. And I love that your mom was just your cheerleader from the very beginning. So fast forwarding to like all these years later and you having a successful career, I know you've got some changes going on in your life now too. What changes happened throughout your career that made you want to take that big leap or shift in what you're doing today?
Well, I really feel like I lived the whole like trajectory of what a hairstylist like lifespan is like become an assistant and then be an assistant for like 2 years and then do your own thing and then build a team and then open your like first studio and then after opening up a studio open up a salon and I did that in the whole lifespan of like the past like 10 years in my career. I've been doing hair for about like 11 and a half. It'll be 12 this year. And I did all of that. And once, and I like worked for brands like Pervana and I've been on stage and like, you know, granted, I haven't won that one shot yet, but you know, I'm going to speak to that in a little bit. You know, like just all the things that the industry and the people around you and Instagram tells you to do, I did it in the fullness of how you can do it. I did it. And I think I like ruined myself in the process because at the end, now that I'm making this big transition in my career, I realized that at such a young age, you do everything because everybody else tells you to do it. Like I opened a salon because everyone else said I should open up a salon. I built a team because everyone else told me I should build a team. You know, it's a lot of like the industry telling you and feeding you things to do, and then you do it. And then once you get there, you kind of realize like, I don't think I'm happy. And
Right.
that was like a really big shift that I couldn't come to terms with. Like, I'm not happy. How did I get here? And although I'm very proud of myself, um, I felt like I never did anything for myself that I really had control over because it was mainly to please other people. And in that people pleasing, you really don't have control over your happiness because you're always at the mercy of like the validation of like the industry or people you look up to in the industry or like your clients or the people on your team. And I was really susceptible to all of that. And um, once I went on this journey, of like healing and just also loving myself, I realized like, wow, I don't really want a salon. And although I did enjoy mentoring people so much, I don't think I want to mentor people at such a close proximity. And I do have all this knowledge now. And my transition now will be in educating. And it's so crazy because even in this transition, it's like you're so scared. Like we talked about it. I think I cried on the phone with you. No, I did. I did. I don't think it was a very much like a Kim Kardashian cry. I watched the playback and I was like, oh my gosh, you and Drea were just, you guys are so sweet. But yeah, even in this transition, it's very hard because you have to constantly tell yourself, like, this is what I want to do. And this is how I want to like express myself. And it's not because of like validation. It's just I want to do it now. And this is how I see my career. And even like working behind the chair, like it took me so long to like let go of that identity of like me as a hairstylist. And like in this transition, I feel like I finally have let go of like that identity of like, I'm only a hairstylist. And it's like, no, you're not only, you don't need to just be only a hairstylist. You could be like so much more than what encompasses like working behind the chair. And I think that's the biggest like takeaway from this transition is like, wow, there's so much more out there that I can do still in the sphere of hair because that's always going to be my passion and I love our industry. But it doesn't have to look like how it's always looked and what people tell you it should look like. Like I could write my own career and what I want it to look like without having like shame or feeling like I'm behind or I'm not doing enough. And so I don't know if that really answers your question, but
it totally does.
That's what I've learned throughout this process of being a part of the industry for so long and seeing so many ups and downs of it is like, you know, you got to get to a point where like you do it for yourself and like your why has to be so rooted in like your identity of like what your career looks like where it cannot be shaken. And I was so shaken. I was like a tree blowing in the wind. I was like literally a plant. Like I was just blowing in any direction that the wind was taking me. I was blowing in that direction. And it's a very it's very cringy looking back. Like the last 10 years of my career, but it was very necessary. Yeah.
Well, you learned a lot from it sounds like. And even though you took those steps and you took those leaps, like those are big leaps for some people. Some people, it takes them a really long time in order to make any kind of gain, or they live in fear and they don't allow themselves to go there because of the unknown. So I think it's what's really important is that your identity isn't wrapped in what you do. It's a part of your story. And this was a part of your story. And that helped you lead to the next thing, which is an education and what you're wanting to do, it sounds like. As you've been transitioning through your career and just reinventing yourself, so to speak, what obstacles have you run into along the way?
Wow. Clients, making boundaries with your clients is probably the hardest thing for me to do because I love my clients so much. It actually hurts. Like I will literally drop everything for like my OG clients and creating boundaries for my own like mental health and also to have more margin where I can do podcasts like this with you or I can have like meetings with like SSA and like block off time so that I'm more successful in the future is the hardest. Like time management, organization of like, okay, now that I have all this free time, what do I do with it? And that's really hard. I think as a hairstylist, I think we all have ADHD. I definitely know I do. I haven't been diagnosed, but I swear I have ADHD. And it's been so hard for me to find structure because I've consumed my life with just work. And I work long hours. I work like I could be up from like 8 a.m. to like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just be consumed, and there's no stopping. And building that structure for my life was like days planned out for my daughter and intentional days to like work out. And then like, okay, like Mondays are full for like meetings and important, like, advancing and like, how am I going to like build out my education? And it's like, you have to literally sit there and stare at a computer screen until you figure it out. And sometimes that could feel very like you're not making traction, but you are. It's just a different framework now, and you have a different work cadence than just like consuming yourself with clients. And that was really hard for me. And even now, like I only take clients on Thursdays. It's the most random day of the week. And it's very hard for my clients to kind of get used to. And so, yeah, that's probably the hardest, is just having a different work cadence and having a different perspective of like, although I'm not taking clients, I'm still working, and I'm working towards a goal that doesn't really bear fruit yet, but it will if I put in this like framework for it. I guess it's a more like executive role, which I actually really like. I like having meetings. I like sitting on my computer. I like not having bleach all over my clothes, and like, that structure that most people get like straight out of high school that are in tech or like in, corporate America. It's actually the most like, I really like that work environment. I'm not even gonna lie. I like having meetings. I like looking and living on my calendar and seeing like all the meetings I have. I'm like booked and busy.
Changed your work schedule because you knew that there was something you needed to make yourself available for. And the fact that you created that space, it started to give you opportunity for other things outside of what you've been doing. And if you didn't block those times out, if you didn't create those boundaries around your schedule, then you may not have had the opportunities present itself in order to take the next step. And that would have perpetuated maybe some of your fears, or you would have talked yourself out of something that you may have wanted to do. So the fact that you were able to actually do that and listen to yourself and follow through with it, I think is something worth mentioning, because a lot of people do live in their fears and they don't take that step where they're like, gosh, I don't want to schedule that time out because then I'm going to lose out on that client, or I'm going to lose out on that money, or am I going to be able to pay my bills if I shrink my schedule down here or there? And it's really easy to kind of get that like Chicken Little thing going on where you feel like the sky is falling. First of all, though, if you are going from 8 a.m. to like 2 a.m., it's no wonder that you're able to like condense like someone's entire career into 10 years. So that makes sense. You're like me. I'm somebody who like works long hours. And even though I'm done at the salon, I still come home and I work some more, and then I work again, and then I work a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I get it. But it sounds like you have something in you that that you are capable of doing so much more, and you're listening to that. And that's the important piece that I want you guys, you listeners, to listen to right now. If there's something that's in you that you're quieting, or you're putting parameters around, or you don't think it's the right timing, or you're letting like insert whatever excuse it may be, maybe wake that up for a second and let your own fears go dormant, and let those processes, let that creative brain, like maybe even just write it all out onto a piece of paper so it's visual for you, so that you can like let those thoughts not just sit inside your own head or your own fears take over. And that's the thing I want you guys to take a page out of Niki's book, because Niki, even though like you sharing this story with us, I feel like what I'm hearing is that you're not letting your fear dictate the steps or the moves that you make. You've put yourself out there time and again. And I know so much more about the story than what you're sharing. Like, you've been knocked down a lot, but you get right back up, girl. Like, you are strong, and you want to elevate people who, it's like you want to elevate your inner self, but you also want to elevate other people while you're doing it. And I think that is the reason why you connect with us so much. That's the reason why we just instantly became friends. And that's why I'm you're one of my people, you know? So, so tell us what's next for you. I mean, we know you're going into education, but like, give us a little sneak into what's going on with your world.
Okay, so obviously I'm going into education. I'll be launching my classes this year. It's very exciting. We love that. Because, you know, you always need help. I feel like people who say self-made, did it by myself, like boss babe or, you know, whatever. Like, I love those nuances. But let's just be real for a second. Nobody got to where they are at on their own. It's a nuance that I don't like to sell anymore. You know, I used to be like, oh, self-made, this and that. But it's just like, what I realized is that I really love working with a team of like high level people and just people who are operating at the same place. And that's why we got along so well. And so on that note, I am very excited for my classes that are coming out. I'm working really hard on it, but even in the process of pulling things out of you that have been dormant for like so long, it is so hard because, you know, there's so much you want to say in a class to inspire people and to just help connect people and just remind them of a different perspective of what it feels like to like work behind the chair. And that's hard to do. And that's hard to put in just like 4 hours. So that's what I'm working on. I'm also working on a secret project, which will hopefully be available for everybody and anyone in the beauty creative space. It's going to be very exciting. It's very innovative, and it's going to really help the lifespan of like a hairstylist from like the start, the middle to the finish, and also onward. And it's just going to be a place where, you know, you can find all those resources and you won't be blindsided. You don't have to like sit on Instagram and be like, how do I go to New York Fashion Week, you know, or like, how do I accomplish this braid? I think there's something so special about in person that no one could ever take that moment away from you. And whatever that moment is with, like, let's say you go to a hair show. I remember my first BTC hair show in 2016 in New Orleans, that I was in such a bad place in my career, in my mindset. I wanted to quit doing hair, and my mentor at the time and my friend convinced me to go. And I've never been to an in-person gathering for like our industry before. I went there. Every day I was crying because I was just like, this is so amazing. And there's so many events like that in our industry that are so, they're not visible and most people don't know about it. And there's a lot of hair classes that people don't know about or have resources to. And it's just like that. There's so many more moments that you're going to have where you're just like, why can't I do what this person can do on Instagram? And the fact that we have Instagram now, we judge ourselves based on our peers. You know, it's like in high school, like we only have the people in our high school to like judge and compare to. But now since we have Instagram, it's like everybody that we judge and compare ourselves to. And sometimes people are gatekeepers and they don't want to tell you how they got there because they're gatekeeping. Well, the platform that is soon to come will be a place where the gates will be open, where you can find resources and people are there to help you and guide you through this lifespan of a hairstylist, where you're a student, then you become an assistant, then you become a commissioned stylist, and then you either rent a chair or you rent a studio, and then after that, you may or may not open up a salon. And then from there, you might want to be an educator or work with a brand. And it's just, it encompasses all of that. I can't say too much, but it encompasses all of that. I'm going to stop myself before I wreck myself.
Well, you gave us lots of teasers there, Niki. So we will be on the edge of our seats until the meantime. I'll go ahead and link Niki's Instagram on the bottom. So in the show notes, you guys can find her there. And you will be hearing more from Niki, like I said, because she's part of our community. and we'll have her back on. And then once this like big mystery thing launches, we'll have her back on and we'll have her chat with you guys about it some more. But in the meantime, guys, I want to encourage you to dream big, set goals, and take action. And we will see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.